This first song I'm going to do is a collaboration that I did with Kay. And it's called Fuck You All Motherfuckers. And it's just about quitting your job and just getting loose, getting drunk, and not really caring anymore. And I like it a lot. I quit my job. My ass is in the wind. Gonna get loose. Gonna get low down. Don't care what you think. I don't care. 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 I'm on the bridge of leaving. All my troubles are mine. May take off to Cambodia, to Rome or New York, or I may end up right back at home. But I don't care. I don't care. Might settle down, a house, new car, a dog, and a wife. I might settle down, a house, a dog, used car, and a wife. Things gotta change. Got change in my pocket. I miss the younger me. The dirty old man is my destiny. 'Cause I don't care. I don't care. The future is fluttering by. No glory in the past. I'm gonna get loose. Gonna get loaded. Gonna get low down. Tonight all my troubles are mine. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Might settle down, a house, used car, a dog, and a wife. Might settle down, a house, used car, a dog, and a wife. This is called Staircase and Suitcase. I wanted everything to stay just like it was. If you want, I can be shelter from your pain. If you don't want it, you can turn and walk away. My illusions shatter, vanish into night. Doesn't matter, only ends up as a fight. But when you ask, I was always there to soak up the blame. But when you didn't want it, you turned and walked away. Walked away. Walked away. Staircase, suitcase, we all end up the same. Leaving soon enough, we only need to rearrange. If you want, I will be a sponge to soak up the shame. But if you don't want it that way, you can turn and walk away, crouching. Shadows prey upon my soul. Watching, leaving, I can't explain it all. And all the while, I cracked a smile and never thought once to complain. But now that I've found some peace, and now that I've found some peace, now that I've found some peace, time to turn and walk away. Walk away. Walk away. Thank you. Jason, rock your world or what? Okay, I can see how Jason is in the book. In the book. Okay, we got a lot of folks left, so I'm reminding everybody to please keep the time. Okay, one thing that makes this night successful is that everybody's cool, everybody chills, and everybody listens up tight. So for our next couple readers, let's bring it back down just a shade, okay? We've got all night to rock it, okay? That's the truth. So James, come up, speak to us now if you can. James is the author of this hot off the presses text. You may have been reading him for years. It's available right back there for a man one. It's a fraction of your beer money. Just a fraction, Lindsay. Let's hear it for Jimmer.
Tonight I would like to offer up a performance piece titled Shameless Self-Promotion. Act 1, the jingle. I just finished writing a book. A Herculean effort it took. It's really quite funny and don't cost much money. So for 10,000 won, take a look. Act 2, the setup. The book is nominally about a visa run to Fukuoka that I and two other foreigners, Bill and Jenny, took last summer. The voice in my head telling me to kill again calls Jimmer's Day in the Life the most important book yet written about Asian visa runs, really setting the standard for future novels, short stories, and poems in the visa run genre. This particular section I'm about to read takes place Saturday night, July 28, 2001, at a nightclub in Fukuoka called The Crazy Cock. Before I begin, I'd like to proffer a warning that the events discussed are of a frank and explicit nature, and all too tragically true. Those of you who suffer from night blindness, intestinal lacerations, or excessive spleen pus, and anyone who prays to pagan altars made of feminine hygiene products, I would strongly urge you now to please leave the room. Thank you. Act 3, the payoff. When I say the dance floor was packed tight, what I mean is that you had a better chance of sailing the Titanic up a syphilitic man's urethra than getting through to an opening. So I pulled a Crocodile Dundee and walked across the many-headed beast to an elevated space next to the DJ booth. Once I got situated, a relay team from the Czech Republic joined me on the podium, and Bill was right behind me. How did you get here? I asked, an unmistakable look of both surprise and admiration on my face. No, how did you get here? Bill replied with equal fawning. Our view from above was perfect, the whole show laid out before us for review, contemplation, and distillation. But I didn't want to consider the larger meaning. I just wanted to D-A-N-C dance. The DJ was a mousy little girl decked out in hip-hop regalia, sunglasses, do-rag, orange tank top, blood and crit bandanas tied around every circular body part and chains. She was pumping out the jams, mixing, scratching, giving us our Skrilla's worth on the 2 turntables and a microphone. And the dance party below me loved it. All the ladies say, yeah, yeah. All the brothers say, oh, oh. All the people say, hey, hey, ho, hey, ho. I was swinging my arms and snapping my fingers, kicking my feet front to back, pushing the limits and breaking new ground on the white tight skid plate. My punk ass was macking out funk-atrociously. And at that moment, on that enchanted evening, across the crowded room, I saw her. She and 2 of her friends were on another podium, opposite of ours and on the other side of the dance floor, but she was center stage, playing Diana for the other girls' surprise. Long black hair splashing left to right and back to left again as her head swiveled and jerked on the downbeats. She was wearing a yellow mesh muscle shirt with painted-on V-cut leather slacks that dipped so far below her navel, I swear I could see a hint of. Well, what really set off her sex witch ensemble was a gold waist chain with a miniature marijuana leaf that bounced up and down from her diaphragm to her crotch as she thrust her hips to the rhythm. And boy, oh boy, did she have rhythm. When I first saw her, I blurted out, I am the Eggman, for reasons I could not fathom. And apparently my voice must have projected just enough above the music to rattle the DJ, because she made one of those rip-scratching sounds to the LP that you always hear in the movies when the awkward hero says something freakishly inappropriate. And all the people say, hey, ho. For the next 10 songs, I was working all the angles I knew on the white guy skip dance, trying desperately to get her to look in my direction. Eventually, I was reduced to waving my arms back and forth over my head and yelling, hey, look at me! Until the taste of blood in my throat forced me to only mouth the words. Some gizmo had to be busted on my radar love because my signal was getting nowhere. When I was just about to give up and leave the security of my perch to get a refresher from the bar, she stopped her alternating profile head shaking, and stared into my eyes so abruptly my knees buckled. I stretched back my lips to reveal my toothiest smile and waved with all the exuberance of Gomer Pyle, greeting Sergeant Carter after a 6-month furlough at a camp for Playboy centerfolds. Oh yeah, that should be funny because Jim Neighbors was gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I know, that cliché so yesterday. And then the most unbelievable thing happened. A wicked smile played upon her lips as she slightly lowered her head and furrowed her brow into a knot like a starving panther about to strike. I swooned like a studio audience Bobby Soxer after being blown an imaginary kiss from Paul during that first Ed Sullivan Show appearance, teetering on the verge of unconsciousness. And then Aphrodite started giving me the full-on big nasty, knocking her head from side to side, running her hands down between her thighs and suggestively opening her legs while she pumped her hips forward at me. Her gaze held me tighter than a stable molecule, cradling my love in her hand as gently as the wispy Fay Ray in King Kong's monstrous fleshy paw. She ran her tongue over her lips from top to bottom, while her hand squeezed her breasts and her head shook spasmodically like a nun experiencing her first multiple orgasm. Man, I was so money. Then she gave an exaggerated backflip of her head, hair flying skyward before cascading over her shoulders. She reached back around, resting one hand on her Jennifer Lopez to give added emphasis to her hip thrusting. And with the other hand, she grabbed her crotch like Madonna. Then she ran both hands up her stomach and over her breasts before inserting a finger into her mouth, suckling it like a newborn. She bathed the finger on the other hand as well. Then she pulled the other finger out of her mouth and pushed her hands out toward me as she twisted them around so the knuckles faced me, clenching them tightly into fists. She paused briefly, evoking a licentious carnality with her eyes. Then she gradually extended the middle finger of both hands and mouthed, "Fuck off." With instant replay. Believe it or not, I laughed. What can I say? It was funny. And considering the thought that must have went into such an audacious kiss-off, I kind of think she likes me. Act 4, the pitch. That concludes Shameless Self-Promotion, my little testimonial to performance arts. And if this piece has moved you, amused you, or caused you to think or give thanks, buy the book. There's plenty more where that came from. Thank you.
We meant to tell you sooner, but this is as good a time as any, I suppose. There are some people here from MBC doing one of those little, like, what do foreigners do living in Korea things. Yeah, we drink. And they may be asking for interviews in English or Korean. They're about, there's cameras here, guy was down here earlier, so that's what they're doing, putting together a night in the life of maybe almost 200 foreigners. Wow, there's a lot of people here. Wow! We are also recording this evening for a potential feed on Pusan Web. This is the way that it's going to appear. So stay tuned to our #1 supporter, Pusan Web, to see the live cast and tell your folks about it. It's cool to say, hey Mom, I'm on the internet. Okay, I walked right into that one, didn't I? Our next reader is, again, in the book, and his piece, Korean Rectal Surgery, aptly ends the book. I'm not too sure what he's reading tonight, but put your hands together for Scott.
I'm going to try to use a bit more, I'm going to try to be a bit more emphatic with my reading today. And I'm going to try to keep it shorter. But first I'd like to thank Sarah and Kay for starting this whole thing, because I don't know how much I would be writing without it. The competition, I know none of us like to be competitive, but there is a bit of competition involved, and there's a deadline involved that has inspired me to write a bit more, a lot more. And this is, I'm going to read a bit of a story I'm trying to finish. And it's a bit critical of Korea. And I would like to say that I do not feel justified in criticizing Korea because I'm not Korean. But I try to keep it critical of all ends, and I try to see the best and the worst in all of us from all the various countries. And the title is Upside Down. And I begin with a quote from Albert Einstein. Common sense is nothing more than a collection of prejudices acquired by the age of 18. And we've all been, common sense is something that we all must think about while we're living in Korea, while crossing the street, while sitting on a bus. We all think about common sense when our hagwon is on fire, various other things that seem nonsensical to all of us. Okay, I'm going to try to read a bit more emphatically. Directly across from English teacher Mary McNanahan sat Yu Gil-mi. Gil-mi was an average Korean girl of average Korean stature, a slender, slinky-figured femme, petite by Western standards. She wore a pair of shiny black, skin-tight slacks with an even tighter black sleeveless sweater that, when twisting just so, exposed a sliver of skin shifting between belly and button, enough to entice men perchance hawking from the hallway. Beneath the sweater was a firm, white push-up bra suggesting a fictional pair of ample cone-shaped breasts. Upon her feet, the fashionable stiletto heels with long, wickedly pointing toes. The toes were so long that Gilmy was forced to climb the stairs in a semi-sideways position and travel the city streets with the high gait steps of a Tennessee walking horse. Thank you. Next to her sat three girlfriends of a remarkably similar design. Each girl was picking pimples and primping perms while gazing fixedly into tiny cosmetic case mirrors. Gilmy's gaze, however, was fixed upon Marie. Sometimes I say Marie, sometimes I say Maria. Sorry, I haven't changed everything. Where was I? Marie. Maria, as she chatted loudly in Korean, the singularly paranoid state of first-year culture shock had made Korean seem to Marie phonetically repulsive, consisting of much whining from girls and much screaming from old women. Nonetheless, she was so sharp as to pick up the erratically shifting tones suggesting Gilmy's disdain. Maria sat with her hair over her eyes, hand holding up her hair, painfully struggling to focus on a year-old, mildewed copy of Reader's Digest, which she had fished out from behind the dust-laden corner of a dirty and rusting desk in the teacher's lounge. She was overwhelmingly aware of everyone and everything around her, but there were 2 more minutes before her final morning class, and this was her time, no one else's time. She must guard this time savagely. She could not enter the teacher's lounge, for there every Korean teacher would oppress her with grammatical, idiomatical, or syntactical questions concerning the English language, regardless of how many times she explained her degree was in psychology. Here in the classroom, in order to ensure her precious time, in order to make that point remotely clear to anyone in the room, she must look as focused as possible upon reading this magazine and respond to all suggestions with a savage snarl. Next to her, she sensed the blatant perlustration of a middle-aged bus driver named Bum Suck. Bum Suck, for Christ's sake, she thought. I'm being stalked by a drunken Korean bus driver named for an anal oral fetish. Bum Suck, the name fits, you pumpkin-headed poop breath. But Bum Suck was still buzzing from last night's soju, a formaldehyde-laced Korean liquor that leaves victims fuzzy into the next day, and reeking of rubbing alcohol for 3. The reek was intensified by the fact that Bum had not eaten breakfast, but had eaten a generous portion of garlic pickled cabbage and tofu the night before, along with 2 packs of cigarettes, all consumed from within an unventilated tent situated next to an open sewer on the freeway in the industrial armpit of the city. Thank you. On the table in front of him, Bumsuck stroked a gift for his teacher, a container full of delicious bulgogi, beef cured in a tasty mixture of garlic, onion, ginger, and soy sauce, usually served over rice. Bumsuck would probably explain once more that his wife had worried about Marie's loneliness and health, after all living in a foreign country. Then he would ask her if he could come to her home and prepare it. She would politely reject and later dump the expensive, lovingly prepared beef because she couldn't figure out how to prevent her rice from coming out too soggy. Fuck it, she thought. Give me a fat steak and some salsa with pan-fried taters and corn tortillas. But I won't have that for another 8 months. Good Lord. 8 months without any Tex-Mex, shepherd's pie, sour cream, guacamole or Lay's chips, no quiche, no real coffee, and no toasted bagels. Class began, and Marie, now an expert in nursing time, began with a simple self-introduction. She gazed past the students with a smile suggesting nervous breakdown, then stood up slowly, burning each ticking second, and approached the board to write her name. Marie. That was enough. All they needed to know, with a few drawings pointing out Dallas, Texas, her hometown. She asked if there were any questions, and Gilmy's friend, nicknamed Purple, spoke up. Oh, teacher, you have such big, beautiful eyes and long eyelashes. I envy you. Another girl, Banana, said, we've all had bananas. Yes, you look like an American movie star with long legs and a glamorous body. Then Gilmy said, yes, and you have a nose like a dog and a hip like a duck. Your hip is really so big, really. Your hip is like 2 Korean girl hips. Your nose is like the white Korean dog Chindoke. You know, Chindoke? It is our national dog. Some students nodded, for it was true. This was the national dog. And Maria was a big, broad, big-boned girl with ample nostrils. Maria looked about the room. Students chuckled, apparently satisfied with Gilman's remark, apparently unaware of its being a tactless insult in the eyes of a foreigner. She felt the acid boil in her belly, an intestinal problem she supposed came from eating pickled cabbage and rice. Impulse pulled Maria towards the door, but she fought it. The corners of her brain yanked her head about in a struggle from confusion. She was a teacher, an adult, and she would behave as such. But no, this blatant slight deserved vengeance. Yet it was not uncommon to hear good friends shamelessly point out each other's most embarrassing handicaps. It's not. Therefore, it was okay to speak up. She had nothing to lose. They wouldn't fire her. They needed her. The boss feared her leaving because then the students would leave. So Maria said, smiling, "Yes, thank you, Gilmy. And your face is pushed in like a pug dog. You have small eyes like a rat, and your hips are too small to bear children. You have bad skin and wear more makeup than a clown." Do you know clowns? She drew a picture of a clown and mentioned Ronald McDonald in case someone misunderstood. These lights were all so true, but Maria was not sure whether the students understood, because they all nodded. Some chuckled, others verbally agreed, saying, "Yes, Gilmy is ugly." Gilmy smiled too, for she was not ugly. Marie knew that any white boy close enough would push Marie to the side and pursue Gilmy given the slightest provocation, which was certain given the social skills, giggles, coos, and coy gestures of the average Korean girl. I'm going to stop there. And it was not 10 minutes. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, I love this attention. Thank you.